Ever found yourself in a heated conversation that spiraled way faster than you expected? Maybe it was at work, during a tense meeting. Maybe it was at home, where an innocent comment turned into an argument. We've all been there. And in those moments, the ability to de-escalate conflict quickly isn't just a nice to have, it's a superpower. But here's the thing. Most people approach conflict all wrong. They either shut down or they get defensive and make it worse. Today, I'm going to show you how to diffuse conflict fast, using science-backed techniques that hostage negotiators, therapists, and conflict resolution experts swear by. These are tools you can use at work, at home, or anywhere emotions run high. Let's get into it. First, let's be honest. Why we suck at handling conflict? Well, most of us were never taught how to handle conflict. We either grew up in households where people avoided hard conversations or where people yelled and fought over everything. So when conflict shows up, we react. We get triggered. We say things we regret, or we shut down to avoid the discomfort. But conflict isn't the enemy. Poor conflict management is. And what science shows us is that our brains are wired to react emotionally first, logically second. That's why it's so easy to get hijacked by anger, frustration, or defensiveness in the heat of the moment. But the good news? You can retrain your brain and use proven tools to calm things down, fast. I'm going to break down a 4-step, science-backed framework to de-escalate conflict quickly, whether it's with your boss, your partner, or a stranger. Let's dive into it. Step 1. Pause the reaction. The first mistake people make in conflict is reacting too fast. When someone raises their voice or attacks your idea, your brain's amygdala, the part responsible for survival, goes into fight or flight mode. That's when we lash out, get defensive, or shut down. Here's the hack. Pause. Breathe. Buy time. Even 2 to 3 deep breaths can interrupt your emotional hijack and re-engage your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain. For example, let's say your manager criticizes your work in front of the team. Instead of snapping back immediately, pause. Take a breath. Say, "That's helpful feedback. Can I think about it and circle back after the meeting?" Another example. Let's say you go home to your partner. He or she says something hurtful. Instead of defending immediately, pause and say, "I'm feeling pretty triggered right now. Can we take a minute and come back to this?" So what's the science behind it? Research from the Gottman Institute shows that even short pauses in heated moments reduce cortisol and help you respond more constructively. Step 2. Label the emotion. Once you've calmed your initial reaction, your next move is to validate the emotion you're seeing, without judgment. This is straight from Chris Voss's Tactical Empathy Playbook. He says, when you label emotions, you name them. And when you name them, you tame them. Let's say your client is angry about a late deliverable. Instead of defending, say, "It sounds like you're feeling frustrated about the delay. I get why this is upsetting." Another example at home. Your child is yelling and crying. Instead of punishing, say, "You sound really upset right now. Want to tell me what's going on?" According to the research done by UCLA, the studies show that labeling emotions reduces amygdala activation and helps people feel calmer. And it's important to note that labeling is not agreeing, it's acknowledging. You don't have to say they're right, you just have to name what they're feeling. Step 3. Ask calibrated questions to invite collaboration. Now that the emotional temperature has dropped, it's time to invite them into problem-solving mode. And you do that with calibrated questions, open-ended questions that start with how or what. These questions do 2 things. They shift the other person from reacting to reflecting. They make them feel like you're collaborating, not attacking. For example, you can ask your coworker questions like, "What's the most important thing for you moving forward? How can we fix this in a way that works for both of us?" When you're at home, you can ask your partner, "What do you need from me right now? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again?" These types of questions trigger the prefrontal cortex, inviting rational thinking and joint problem solving. One key tip from Harvard's negotiation book, Getting to Yes, is to shift the conversation from positions to interests. Instead of arguing over fixed demands, try to understand what's behind this concern. Step 4. use the accusation audit and positive closing. When tensions are still high, Chris Voss suggests a ninja-level move called the accusation audit. This means calling out the negative things they might be thinking about you before they say them. For example, you can say, "I know it might seem like I'm just making excuses here, and that's not my intention." Or, "I know you might feel like I'm not listening, or I don't care, but I really do want us to figure this out together." The science behind this is that this diffuses defensiveness and creates psychological safety. And finally, always close with a positive, forward-looking statement. For example, you may say, "I appreciate how open you were about this. I think we can come up with a solution that works for both of us." Or, "Thanks for telling me how you feel. I think this actually brings us closer." Why it works? People remember the last emotional moment more than the details. Closing with warmth and optimism leaves them feeling respected and connected. Many people find it surprising when they hear this, but here's the truth most people don't tell you. Conflict isn't something you're either naturally good at or bad at. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned and practiced. So when you see someone who seems calm, collected, and skilled at de-escalating conflict, it's not because they're born that way. It's because they've put in the efforts. They've learned the tools. And you can too. And the more you practice these tools in low-stakes conversations, the more they'll become your default in high-stakes situations. For example, try using labeling and calibrated questions next time your barista gets your order wrong, or when a friend cancels plans last minute. Every conversation is a mini practice round, because when the big conflicts come, and they will, you'll already have the muscle memory to de-escalate like a pro. All right, let's recap the 4-step de-escalation framework. Step 1, pause the reaction, breathe. Interrupt the emotional hijack. Step 2, label the emotion, name it to tame it. Step 3, ask calibrated questions, invite collaboration and reflection. Step 4, use accusation audit, close positively, disarm defensiveness, and leave them feeling seen. That's a wrap for today's episode. Here's your challenge this week. The next time you feel a conversation getting heated, pause, label, ask, and close. Then drop a comment below. Which step was hardest for you? Which one worked like magic? If this episode helped you, hit that like button and subscribe the Work Chat for more science-backed communication, leadership, and negotiation tools. Because conflict isn't something to fear, it's an opportunity to connect. And now, you've got the tools to make that happen. See you in the next episode.